about the emerging markets. I think maybe some of the things that are happening there might provide some lessons for emerging markets as well. So I hope you have a nice and interesting audience there this afternoon. It's great to have this workshop here in Mauritius for a number of reasons. Of course, it's a very beautiful island, but for scholars that should not be a reason to come here. I think it's also of great interest for emerging world as a whole. It's of course a small island economy, which makes it different from other countries, but it's also a proverbial emerging market. If you look at the economic performance, it has been pretty good over the past decades. I looked at the data, and if I didn't do the calculation incorrectly, since 1970, Mauritius has had more than 5% of economic growth per year. So per capita GDP has grown tremendously, and especially if you compare that to the rest of Africa, which is seeing a growth rate of not even 1% per year. Some of the other emerging markets can learn something. Okay, so let me say a few words on this EAD partnership, which has financed this workshop. EAD is the German Academic Exchange Service, and they have a program line for cooperations between Germany and universities in developing countries and emerging markets. And this is what this project is financed from. We have a 4-year budget. We have 12 partner universities in 11 countries, and let me just list the number of the countries so you get an impression how far this network spreads the globe. We have partners in Chile, Brazil, Uganda, Tanzania, South Africa, Germany, Belarus, Jordan, Mauritius, India, and China. We are also supported by UNCTAD, so we work closely with the Social Institute of UNCTAD, the United Nations Fund for Trade and Development. And the goal of our project is first to improve the teaching of economics at the master level for partner universities, and second to conduct joint research. I think that the joint research is important also to improve the teaching at the master level, because only if you do research yourself you can do cutting-edge teaching at the master level. And when we started this program, we had the observation that a lot of the teaching material textbooks we are using, not only you, but also most of the emerging markets and developing countries, are basically not geared to the problems of emerging markets and developing countries. In economics, you very often use textbooks from the United States, which often are concerned with the problems of large, close, industrialized economies, which is exactly the opposite of what many developing countries are. So the textbook, we did a poll among our universities, and the textbook which is used in international economics at almost all universities is Krugman Obstfeld's International Economics. This might be a good textbook or not, we can discuss that, but it's certainly not geared to the specific institutional and economic problems in developing countries. So our idea is to seek solutions to that, maybe to work on some material which can supplement these textbooks, but also to exchange and talk about best practice. We'll of course talk about problems in emerging markets and developing countries face, from trade policies and financial sector development. We have a number of instruments for that. We offer short-term fellowships.
Uplift in dynamism. So it seems to be almost the same as developing countries, but with a nice sound. Joshua Eisen, now a well-known economist, wrote in the Palgrave Dictionary of Economics, countries or markets that are not well established economically and financially but are making progress in that direction. And if you read his article, he mainly speaks of the rapidly growing, newly industrialized Asian countries like Taiwan, Korea, etc. If you count in purchasing power parity. The reason why PPP gives us a higher magnitude of GDP is simply that we have a strong non-tradable sector. The poorer the countries are, the less developed they are. So the official exchange rate does not make sense, or not always make sense to use it. And this has to do with dualism in the economies. And this, on the other hand, has to do with a big subsistence sector where there is no money, very, very few markets only. So more developed countries have less difference or no difference at all between PPP and constant dollars method. If you look at growth rates, now in constant US dollars, just a rough overview shows us that in this 20 years period, which is quite heterogeneous, the 1990s were totally different from the last decade, I will come to that, the BRICS grew by 5%, strongly driven.
Talk about, first of all, the recent evolution of income distribution in emerging economies, and we'll see that since we don't know who precisely is part of the emerging economy, I would like to take a broader view and at the same time a narrower, focusing on specific economies. Then provide some explanations about the divergences. And as a reason, is it just the policies, or is it just the globalization forces, or is it both? And is there some sort of dependence? And then in more detail, some explanation about China, the emerging economies in Latin America, the transition economies. So let me start now with the recent evolution of income distribution since the 1980s. But here, if you take a broader view, if you like, the proportion in the income between agriculture and manufacturing and services, and the second additional factor, how is the distribution within each of these sectors? So you could think of agriculture, for example. In Asia, they started the industrialization process after a land reform, in China also, but also elsewhere. So the distribution of income within agriculture was quite equal. While in Latin America, this is not true. There's a very large difference in the distribution of income in agriculture already. So it is in fact, say, three factors which affect the distribution of income during this process of structural change. The first one, the sector-specific proportions, the size of these sectors, the differences in the average incomes between the sectors, and the distribution of income within this sector. So it's quite a complex picture. And in fact, the distributional